As a child, I remember, yeah, I mean, growing up, I have very vague memory of my childhood from that, from 1 to 5 or newborn to 5. But the memories I do have, I mean, I remember walking in the gully. They have gullies in Jamaica. Going with my grandma to work, her buying me, snacks and stuff, playing outside in the yard in Jamaica. So those were, I guess, more innocent memories for me, even though it was rough. My grandma said when she came, my grandma on my mom's side, when she came and got me, she said I was pretty almost malnourished.
You're just not eating right.
Yeah, I wasn't eating right. She said I had pneumonia. Doctor said that it was good that she came and got me.
So how did your mom or did your grandmother come get you?
My grandma on my mom's side.
Your mom's
because
mother.
my grandma on my dad's side, Miss Hazel, she had beautiful long hair from what I remember in pictures, green eyes. She got sick. So when she got sick, I was pretty much left on my own. Wow. And when my grandma came and got me, I had pneumonia very badly, according to my grandma. Wow. Very skinny. So the doctor said it was a miracle that she came and got me when she did, because I could have died.
And then she takes you back
to America.
To New York.
To New York City.
And then you live with her till you're 9.
Till I was 9 years old, and then I was undocumented this entire time.
Yeah.
Didn't understand that, of course. So I didn't start understanding that I was undocumented and my life was going to be forever changed to where I am today. I feel like that changed and shaped me. But I was undocumented, so going to school, my mom, well, back in those times, it was a lot easier to get around things. They call it coming to America bandulu. That was what it was called back in those days. You can't do that now, but I came on I had a passport, but I came under someone else's name. So that's why they call it bandulu. That's in Jamaican terms. Yes. So it was very hard for me to obtain status because of that.
So you're trying to, that's very difficult.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very difficult though to bring. So when how does your mom come get you from your grandmother?
Interesting. I'm not sure how that went about, but I can say, according to the talk of the family back in those times, it was to get me to babysit, help with the siblings.
She needs some help, so she came and got
yeah.
her 9-year-old daughter?
Yeah. So when I went to live with my mom, I should have called that chapter Cinderella. Because literally that's how I felt, was Cinderella.
Wow.
I was doing all the cooking.
And it's all in Brooklyn, though. It's
all in Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn, Flatbush.
So you just moved from
Flatbush
one side
in the house.
Another part of Brooklyn. It's from your grandma to your mom came and got you, and it's still in Brooklyn.
Yeah. My grandma lived in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and my mom lived in Flatbush. So they're not that far from each other.
There, but my family is from Harlem.
Okay, that's in Manhattan.
Yeah. I think he said he went to my aunt said that my dad went to Harlem Academy. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, Harlem is like maybe like on the train, maybe 15 minutes, depending on where in Harlem.
Oh yeah, so New York's so huge, huh?
Yeah, New York. I love New York. I mean, that's always going to be home for me, because that's where it all began for me. So I mean, I live in Florida now, South Florida, but it's not home to me. I'm just existing. His name is also Luke, and he was on, like I said, crack, and from day one, so from as far as I could remember, having that memory of my childhood from those years, living with her from 9 to 15. For most of those years, she was with him, and yes, he was on crack, and she pretty much got physically abused almost every day, because I remember her wearing glasses, covering up black eyes, bloody lips.
What are some of, not to bring up, bad memories?
Well, it's in my book, so I got to speak about it at some point.
So you come into this household, they're making you, you're cleaning the house, you're cooking, you're babysitting, and then there's this man in this house who's abusing your mother, abusing you, and abusing everybody. Did he ever hit you?
Well, he didn't. He never hit us, but he was. We grew up more into the emotional part of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously.
Obviously, so that's still
Obviously.
abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse.
And especially me being the oldest, I took in a lot of that. I'm naturally an empath, so I tend to feel things a lot more, mirror people a lot more, and that was something I learned in my later years. You know, eventually I'll touch on that, but back then I didn't know. I just was more sensitive to things that she was going through. I mean, I'm sure my siblings them were, but I felt like I took it in a lot deeper because I even as a kid I remember many nights going to bed like praying like from my dad, whom haven't seen since I left Jamaica. So that's pretty rough. I haven't seen him since I left, and I left when I was five, yeah. So, yeah, I've only spoken to him through phones, when now WhatsApp app, Instagram, you know, but back then it was letters. I used to write him letters telling him, you know, how unhappy I was. Praying, I remember praying that he could come get me. Although back then I didn't know that he couldn't help me either because he's in Jamaica. But, you know, I just remember praying if he could come get me and praying for God to take me out of this home and out of this life. And, you know, I remember that still very strongly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So how does he get deported?
Going to jail consistently. And I think, and all his jail stints were because of crack. And I think eventually, I don't know what was his situation with his papers, but eventually that's what happened. He ended up getting deported. And I think that was the way out for my mom. I remember her taking him to Jamaica, making sure he got settled. But yeah, I think that was her way out. You know, like, why can't you see these things, you know?
Yeah, like such bad
people and men. Yeah. And I remember telling her about him, like, you know, when we go out, like, he talks to other women, like, you know, I remember telling her that because as a kid, I was very blunt. I always spoke up. You know, if I saw something, I would say something. So, but, you know, she ignored it.